From everything being tied up a little too conveniently to the series showrunner getting death threats. Yellowjackets Season 2 finale has fans furious, and here's why. First, things fell into place almost by magic. According to senior contributor Eric Kane, the Season 2 finale was as bad as the first season finale was good. There are plenty of people who feel the same way. The story moved way too quickly in the present timeline. Plus, the plot was full of convenient coincidences, which, in a TV show, is never a good thing. In the last episode, the story became weaker and weaker. When the women gather at Lottie's cult, it seemed like someone flashed some sort of bat signal that called all the other characters who could have had an impact to the same place. Walter showed up, followed by Callie and Jeff with 2 detectives, Kevin and Mustache, in tow. How convenient was that? Everybody knew that Callie had the gun. Since Shauna was being hunted, there was a chance that she'd show up, and she did. Also, what kind of a fixer is Walter? He poisoned Kevin with hot cocoa so easily, and then it took him about 10 seconds to frame the guy for Adam Martin's murder. Kane's outrage was completely justified. Look, no one was taking this show lightly. The story so far had been awesome, and the little glimpses into the character's life made the audience learn more about them, which is why everyone was so invested in this finale. But you know how it ended. I bet you had tears in your eyes too, because it was devastating. Misty, Lottie, Thaisa, Vian, and Natalie put on their gear to chase Shauna through the woods. It was almost as though the wilderness from their past had caught up to the ladies in the future. But then Callie showed up and broke that spell. Thaisa and Van quickly admitted that no psychiatric team was coming, while Lottie thought that the supernatural entity was still with them. All was fine until Lisa, Natalie's friend from the compound, showed up to save Lottie. As Nat was trying to talk her down, Misty stepped up and charged at Lisa to stick her with a syringe of phenobarbital. Just in the nick of time, Natalie pushed Lisa aside and got stabbed by the syringe. She died just moments later, and it was tragic, but was it necessary? If you ask Kane, it was the most useless death on TV since Eddie Munson. Natalie totally deserved better. Her sacrifice was supposed to show that she'd finally let go of her guilt with all those years of living with what happened to Javi. But if that was the takeaway, the way it was executed was very lazy. Why did Misty have a life-threatening syringe on her? And the way Lisa and Callie found the hunting party in the woods was also bizarre. For all the brilliance this show has had in the past, the storytelling was almost worrying. It indicated that Yellowjackets is having trouble writing their way out of what they wrote themselves into. And what about the subplots? They're just pushed aside if they're not helpful. Thaisa became a state senator for New Jersey, but that part of her life was absent from the second season. Sure, after Game of Thrones, people really are on board with the no one safe routine on shows. But still, Natalie's death didn't really go well. Even if she were the Antler Queen, her past didn't have a lot to do with the present. So what was the point? Plus, the fact that it was ruled an overdose was especially cruel, considering the character's history with substances when the show began. The audience will be mourning this one with Misty for a while to come, but the finale had other problems too. The thing is that it brought to light how the show might have creative issues. Fundamentally, it's a split narrative. There are 2 timelines. The soccer team, when they're stranded, are a sight you just can't look away from, while their older versions give a more complete view of how they deal with their trauma. With a premise as fascinating as the one at the heart of this story, everyone has great expectations for the show. But while the flashbacks remain interesting, the present storyline is getting a little chaotic, and the finale was proof of that. It's a very complex story, because in the past timeline, things were life and death. As the showtime jumps to the present, the ladies share a history, but there's more going on in their lives. They've got children, careers, and lives to live. In the second season, the adults were scattered. They didn't even come together until the 6th episode. The past timeline gets stronger due to the numbers, but the present lost its momentum because of the characters' separation. The finale's writing wasn't that good either. Allison Herman from Variety observed that there's a catch to the way the series is written. When all the Yellowjackets are together, they're weirdly restricted. Once they're all in the same room, they can't communicate organically. The show has to consistently avoid spoilers about what happens in the woods, so you never find the women getting into a conversation about what they went through in the wilderness. Some of this vagueness adds up because of their PTSD and memory gaps. But the longer the show goes on, this lack of information is going to become more obvious. The story tries to keep the audience distracted from all that fuss by giving them little tidbits to be curious about, such as Shauna trying to cover her tracks, or the friendship between Misty and Natalie. Both of those got taken care of in a matter of minutes in the finale, and that left everybody angry. It was frustrating because, at its best, the show is brilliant. It gets right into complex themes such as feminist solidarity and girl power. At the start of the finale, the characters in the adult timeline turned on each other for a minute because of the rash decisions and all the secret keeping. It was great to see that happen, since it added depth to their relationship. But the ending tied a neat little bow and packaged away all that the second season had added up to. Though there was another thing that had the fans fuming. What was up with Shauna? She came onto the screen beautifully, but in the second season, she seemed to be all over the place. It'd be more accurate to say that she was spreading her blame all over the place. She killed Adam and then made it everyone else's problem, all the while refusing to own up to her actions. From the wilderness to the New Jersey suburb, she was completely unbothered by her crimes. Plus, it wasn't like she had anything planned either. If Walter hadn't stepped in, she would have been headed for prison. Why did he step in? He had no direct link to Shauna. Also, the way she treated her daughter was weird. Sure, she was honest with her, but at what cost? Why unload all of that on a confused teenager? That's basically turning her into a criminal by letting her know all the details. Plus, Callie became involved in the whole fiasco at the end too. Needless to say, all of this got some very strong reactions at the finale. The co-creator of the show, Ashley Lyle, thanked the cast and crew on Twitter after the second season, and she seemed to understand that some people weren't happy with how it had ended. She wrote that while there were obviously people who enjoyed the finale, a lot of other fans didn't. She also jokingly asked if death threats were a rite of passage for a showrunner, adding that if they were, she sure could do without them. That goes to show how upset people were with the whole thing. Obviously, that's too extreme a reaction. Also, Kelly McClure from Salon admitted that everyone should have listened to the actor who plays adult Thaisa Tawny Cypress, because she warned that the last episode was going to be upsetting. And if you look back, the signs were all there. Melanie Lynskey also shared beforehand that the final episode was going to be emotional. But the word she used to describe it all was crazy, adding that it goes totally bonkers towards the end. And man, was she right. Since the show was renewed before the second season premiered, there's still plenty to look forward to. If you can go easy on the second season's finale, that is. So there you have it, from the series showrunner getting death threats to everything being tied up a little too conveniently. Yellowjackets Season 2 finale has fans furious. And that's why.